What if it's true?
Do I need to remind you what is out there?
Once upon a time, I had somebody that I cared about. And in this world, that sort of shit's good for one thing. Getting you killed.
I need something smuggled out of the city. It's just cargo, Joel.
I just want some simple gear, enough to set me on my way.
I reckon it's got something to do with that girl.
It's got everything to do with that little girl.
It can't be any worse than in here. Can it?
We're shitty people, Joel. It's been that way for a long time.
No, we are survivors.
This is our chance!
It is over, Tess!
What are you so afraid of?
You're treading on some mighty thin ice here.
What do we do?
You make every shot count.
You see, I believe everything happens for a reason.
We don't have to do this. You know that, right?
After all we've been through. Everything that I've done. It can't be for nothing.
Kuzu Ranger here, and I'm going to jump right into the multiplayer details for The Last of Us. The information was discovered through the game files and data hidden for the demo of God of War, but understand they're bound to change by the release of the game. I'll summarize the key points and give my own take on how it will likely affect the multiplayer mode. Marking. This may seem like an insignificant thing, but it can greatly affect how the game is played. Marking players help you track them, helps you aim better, and helps you get easy kills. Getting marked is often synonymous with death unless you take out the guy who marked you and get behind teammates for cover, or run away until the marker disappears. Since we can assume The Last of Us will have relatively small or medium-sized maps, getting marked will mean you're in serious trouble and have little chance to save yourself. So the goal would be to remain unmarked, meaning staying out of the open, less run and gun, for a more stealthier, tactical approach. Listen mode. This is a short-range function that lets you see players behind walls, most likely very similar to how it's used in the single player. This will not be a cheap tactic in my opinion, but rather encourage players to use more tactics and stealth when they suspect an enemy nearby. Instead of players jumping around a corner and playing like Rambo, we'll see more takedowns, stabbings in the back, and maybe some broken necks. To me, this is a fabulous element to add some more suspense to the game without making it unfair, because let's face it, in whatever game you play, you can get knifed or melee punched only if you let your guard down. In other words, you got outplayed. I think this move will help some of the weaker players protect themselves, while the stronger players may not need to resort to this, but we'll see. Hopefully it'll allow players to pull off some surprise attack and likely some melee combos and animating takedowns perhaps. I welcome this type of change toward a more tactical and stealthy gameplay just as long as it's balanced. A few questions do remain though. Do we need to be in crouch? Do we need to take cover behind a wall? Do we need to stop moving? What if we have a weapon equipped? It does mention you are physically handicapped when in this mode, and we need to hold R2 for listen mode. Radar. Having a radar means having knowledge. In The Last of Us, there will be boosters that can keep you off radar when shooting. There will be boosters to let you see pick-up items and weapons on the radar, and another booster that will show all enemies within close range on your radar. So you'll have to be on your toes and watch out for those using specific hiding boosters, meanwhile monitoring your radar for everyone else who gets marked, sprints around, or fires their weapon. Sprinting. Sprinting shows you on the radar, and this is another setting that some or many people will likely take for granted. When you get used to playing military shooters like I did, running doesn't have a penalty besides being less prepared for an oncoming enemy. But since sprinting will show your location on radar, it's like a double penalty. You're giving away your position voluntarily and have reduced reaction when you face an enemy already prepared for you. This is a game changer in my opinion. This penalty for running means Naughty Dog are purposely moving away from the tactical shooter strategy of run and gun. They're catering toward the player who plays smart, uses his environment, and gets better positioning over his opponent. This also has the opportunity to slow down the game considerably, making it more of a duck behind cover and check your surroundings instead of a constant sprint and shoot from the hip game like Call of Duty. However, it's important to note that similar games like Red Dead Redemption also have a third-person shooter perspective which showed sprinters on the map. Sure, some people did stick behind cover and adopt a more classic shootout strategy, but there were still a good proportion who continued to run around the map and play ballsy despite the penalty. I think this can offer a good mix of both, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out in The Last of Us. Revive and healing. Whenever I see the ability to revive or give health in games, I immediately think this game publisher wants us to work together. This can never be a bad thing. I can only hope that these abilities in The Last of Us encourage team play and cooperation. In games like Killzone 2, although these abilities were available, it was not implemented very successfully. People weren't working together, so it was more of an everyone for himself type of gameplay. So only time will tell if people opt to play helpful or selfish, but I will try to remain optimistic. The very fact that it's even included in the first place is a very good sign. Item and weapon pickups. This is another feature that will be hard to judge until we can experience it for ourselves, but right off the bat I can't say that I'm incredibly pleased with this. The main problem with having weapon or item spawns on the map is that these can be exploited. A strong player can get the stronger weapon, then continue to take out his opponents easily, meanwhile protecting this area and replenishing his ammo or abilities even further. If these item spawns are random, well, perhaps that will make things more balanced, but I just don't like the idea of getting upgrades on the field of battle. I think everyone should have their starting weapon and secondary items linked to their class selection, because in a sense, having extra item and weapon pickups just means someone's going to get stronger attacking powers. It may make for more interesting gameplay, but it introduces unbalance and abuse, which is never a good thing. I will say I like the direction The Last of Us is trying to take. They've said they'll be making the multiplayer more like a seamless continuation of the single player, in which weapon conservation and survival are key themes that set it apart from your ordinary shooter. It seems like the game will be geared towards a stealthy, tactics-minded observe, wait, and hunt type of strategy, more like the single player. I think this is a great idea. I'd love to see a game company take the shooting genre stereotypes by the balls and shake them upside down. Give us a game that will actually focus on tactics instead of sprinting around like a moron. Give us the grim aspects of survival horror, only this time be scared of our fellow humans. I think it's time for a different pace in shooter games, so I can only hope that The Last of Us will find some success. Whether it will be created and maintained properly is another question.
Slow down.
Alright guys, thanks for watching. This has been Kuzu Ranger. If you're enjoying the content, don't forget to subscribe and like. Thanks for watching guys. Boo.